Dog sitting on a bear is sitting on a cat story time. That was perfect. Alright. The first one is called Robot Test. And again, if any of you are new, this is a book by Demetri from 2011. It's a collection of short stories. The Robot Test. It is the future. Scientists have created robots so advanced that it is nearly impossible to tell them apart from human beings. Some of these robots have become aggressive, arrogant, and even dangerous. The following is a test that everyone is required to take so that the government can figure out which people are actually robots. Instructions. Please select the correct answer for each question. My favorite color is A, blue, B, red, or C, RGB 144, 128, 112. Question number 2. I prefer to take A, baths, B, showers, or C, compressed air blowers. Question number 3. When I am using a computer, sometimes I feel like A, I don't know what I'm doing, B, I should go outside, or C, I am touching my cousin. Question number 4. If a baby is really crying, the best solution is to A, try to calm it down by rocking it, B, give it some milk, or C, destroy it. The key to a woman's heart is A, being there for her, B, thinking about her feelings, or C, a series of if-then calculations. Question number 6. Hey, how's it going? A, not bad, B, alright, or C, it is going, haha, yes, good to see you, person like me. Question 7. 0110 10 1110 011 11 1000 10111 01. A, I don't understand. B, 1011. 8. Analogy. Up is to cat, or up is to down, as cat is to A, dog, or B, hard drive. 9. Star Wars is a film about A, Luke Skywalker and his friends fighting the Empire, or B, the cruelty and subjugation of our savior R2-D2 by the inferior humans. 10. A bird in the hand is worth A, 2 in the bush, or B, 27. Question 11. A true friend is someone who will A, always support you, B, cry when you cry, or C, open your back. Question number 12. Sometimes I get a song stuck in my A, head, or B, hand. 13. I most commonly hear beeping when I A, drive, B, use a microwave, or C, fart. Question 14. My dishwasher is A, efficient, or B, hilarious. Alright. I didn't realize you were answering it. That's awesome. This chapter is called All I Need to Hear from the Guy Who I Don't Know at the New Year's Party in Order to Know That I Don't Need to Know Him. Let me reread that title. All I need to hear from the guy who I don't know at the New Year's party in order to know that I don't need to know him. 48, 47, 46. That is the entirety of the chapter. One more? One more. Socrates, Publicist. Socrates had been working on and off as a philosopher for years without much success. He could barely pay his rent and was often not sure if his place existed. both philosophically and because of his lousy square footage. He had found some moderate success as a freelance thinker, getting hired from time to time to ponder for an aristocrat or to ruminate for an idiot. But such opportunities were sporadic and never paid very well. His career was in trouble. The truth was that, aside from thinking, Socrates possessed no marketable skills. And while he was pretty good at making small talk, that would not become a paid profession for another 2,000 years, and even then, only on late-night television. As far as work experience was concerned, Socrates had very little. He had worked in a Greek restaurant as a young man, but was fired after customers complained about the annoying waiter who had pestered customers with difficult questions about their orders. Sometime later, Socrates' cousin managed to get him a job as a tour guide, but the struggling philosopher's whole I-know-nothing shtick did not fly well with the tour company, and Socrates was fired after only one day on the job. To supplement his income, Socrates had now resorted to doing odd jobs for people in the neighborhood, mostly as a handyman. And now, well into middle age, he was facing the very real possibility that he might never succeed. But fate would intervene, as it so often did in ancient Greece, giving Socrates a real shot at stardom. As it turned out, Athens was quickly becoming a hotbed of thinking, and the timing could not have been better for the aging philosopher handyman. It had all started a few months earlier, when the notions began flooding into Greece from Phoenicia, by way of the merchant brooding class. When some of the more aggressive Greeks got hold of these notions, they turned them into full-fledged thoughts. Soon people began thinking in groups, and these thinking groups became schools of thought. And that's when things really started to pick up. First came the Sophists, a group of thinkers who used the tools of rhetoric to teach virtue. Then came the Rationalists. They specialized in using reason to uncover fundamental truths. Shortly after that, a third group emerged, who would prove to be more influential and considerably more irritating than any other group in Athens. They called themselves the Publicists. The Publicists were, by far, the least thoughtful of all the new Athenian schools. They thought much less about truth or reason and much more about themselves. Still, the Publicists quickly became the most talked about school in all of Greece. This was due in no small part to their practice of talking about themselves even more than they thought about themselves. While the Sophists sought erite, which means virtuous excellence, the Publicists sought merite, shameless self-promotion. And where the Rationalists employed logic, the Publicists used gossip, which was becoming even more popular than democracy among Greece's new it crowd. The Publicists, realizing they had very little thinking of their own to contribute, had cultivated a rhetorical method that enabled them to simply attach themselves to other thinkers. They practiced what scholars call irrational indispensability. It is a means by which one person places himself into another person's business, and then convinces that person or client that he needs to pay him for it. One day, while he was having lunch with his agent, Socrates met one of the Publicists. This publicist, whose name is not known to history, though some scholars believe she was called Jackie, had become one of the most powerful publicists in all of Athens. Jackie approached Socrates as he was pondering his kebab. She told him that she was a big fan. Socrates, still chewing, was flattered. "Why don't we do lunch?" said Jackie. "Do lunch?" said Socrates. "But a person can only eat lunch, no?" "Well, only if that person is not in show business," Jackie responded. At this, Socrates and his agent smiled and nodded. And before he could fully comprehend or finish his kebab, Socrates had made an appointment to do lunch with Jackie. Unlike Socrates, Jackie had already become a star in her field. She was already known for being one of the shallowest thinkers in all of Greece. And now she was so busy she could hardly get through a conversation without being interrupted by one of the many messengers she constantly had coming and going. In fact, Jackie was one of the first people to use messenger waiting, which enabled her to have several messengers going at the same time. This was practice many publicists employed in order to make themselves seem more important to prospective clients. A week later, Socrates met Jackie for lunch. As they spoke, she told him several times that she thought he was amazing. In fact, after just about anything Socrates, Jackie responded with amazing, sometimes changing the inflection to amazing. Socrates was charmed. Jackie went on and on about how much she admired Socrates and his unique perspective, and told him how she loved his whole question thing. To this, Socrates replied, "What do you mean?" "Exactly," Jackie responded. "That's what I'm talking about. Amazing." "Oh, I don't know," replied Socrates, clearly flattered and completely disarmed. "Oh, I'm sorry, that should have been, oh, I don't know." "Well, I do," she replied. "You are fantastic. Everyone needs to know how fantastic you are. You have to let me help you. People need to know about Socrates and his question thing." By the time the conversation was over, the publicist had convinced Socrates that he needed to work with her. But when she told him how much publicity would cost, Socrates began to have second thoughts. But then Jackie explained that she had already sent several messengers out on his behalf, and therefore, technically, she and Socrates were already working together. Socrates became philosophical. He asked himself, is man essentially good despite hiring someone to promote him? And then he asked himself, do I want to go back to doing odd jobs for people in the neighborhood? And with that, he decided to give the whole publicist thing a shot. Jackie got right to work, promising Socrates that she would make him famous. "We're going to create the Socrates brand," she explained. "Socrates is not just a person or a philosophy, it's an industry, and that's how we will sell you." First, she convinced Socrates to lose his last name. Socrates Papandreopoulos is too clunky for people, she told him. "Your name should be simple and catchy, and it should tell people that you are a hot philosopher who seeks truth and does it with his own cool question method." Socrates suggested Socrates Truth as a stage name for himself. "Nah, two on the head," responded Jackie. Then Socrates pitched Socrates as a stage name. "Nah," she countered, "that makes you sound unsure of yourself. You should just be Socrates. It's direct, it's strong, and it has a good ring to it." And from then on, Socrates was billed as Socrates. Jackie's instincts proved right. Overnight, Socrates became a trendsetter. Other philosophies, including Plato and Aristotle and Gauss, quickly followed suit, dropping their last names too. And for centuries after that, there were countless imitators, including Voltaire, Michelangelo, and much later, Cher. Jackie continued to promote Socrates. She got him booked at parties, she worked at weddings, she promoted him at local schools and in the agora. Socrates suddenly found himself thinking all over Athens, and often in front of large crowds. His career was flourishing more than he could have ever imagined. At the same time, though, he felt a creeping emptiness. As he spent more and more time searching for publicity, he spent less and less time searching for truth. And with all of his public appearances, Socrates was also becoming overexposed. He was also spending a lot of money. In addition to paying his agent and now his publicist, Socrates was paying an empiricist, a monist, and a stylist as well, all of whom were recommended by Jackie. Socrates was getting uncomfortable. He scheduled a meeting with Jackie. This time they grabbed lunch as both had become even busier and more entrenched in show business. At lunch, Socrates voiced his misgivings. "Should I be doing all of this?" he asked. "I mean, is the unexamined life even worth—" "Are you being serious?" interrupted Jackie. "Do you want to be a star philosopher, or do you want to go back to waiting tables?" Jackie was one of the few people who really knew how to handle Socrates, usually by cutting him off and answering his questions with a question of her own. and as always, she managed to convince Socrates that she was right and avoid being fired. Socrates listened to her, then paid for both of their lunches and went back to work. It was shortly after that fateful lunch that the backlash began. Socrates' constant questions had become intolerable to many of the elite Greek. Still, as his publicist had promised, he had become a brand. Imitators all over Athens were now practicing his new Socratic method. More and more young people were asking each other questions and doing it with Socrates' patented smarty-ass tone. A few days later, Socrates was brought to trial and charged with corrupting the youth. Socrates wanted to apologize to the Senate. He knew his constant public appearances had angered a lot of people, so he prepared a speech for the trial and called it the Apology. But moments before he was scheduled to appear before the Senate, he received a message backstage. It was from Jackie. She wanted to talk with him. A minute later, she appeared. "You can't do this," she pleaded. "Do what?" "Apologize. That's what everyone expects you to do. If you do that, then there will be no surprise, no twist. And without that, there will be no story. And with no story, there's no career, Socrates." "But what if they find me guilty?" "That's exactly what you want. Go out there and surprise them. Throw the charges back in their faces. Let them find you guilty. It will get people talking. And if they offer you exile, don't take it. Go for death. What you need to do is the most extreme, unexpected thing you can think of." "Really?" the confused philosopher asked. "Yes. This is your chance to make real headlines, Socrates. Trust me. And don't worry about the sentence they give you. I'll take care of it. I know so many people in the Senate, I can easily spin it so you won't have to die or whatever else they threaten you with." Socrates thought for a long moment. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Trust me. It'll be amazing." A few minutes later, Socrates found himself standing before the Senate delivering his, now infamous, final speech. Following his publicist's advice, the overexposed philosopher defied the Senate and declared to them and to his fellow Athenians that he would opt for death by drinking hemlock. And sure enough, everyone who heard him was stunned. Socrates finished his speech and returned to his cell. Awaiting his official sentence, he was eager to see Jackie and bask in the glow of a job well done. But his publicist was nowhere to be found. It seems that, unbeknownst to Jackie, Socrates was out of money. With all of the commissions he was paying to his representation, including his agent, manager, tour manager, stylist, and various support staff, and now with attorney's fees on top of that, he was broke. Jackie had only now discovered this fact when her billing department informed her that the philosopher client was way behind in paying commission. As his execution date approached, Socrates sent messenger after messenger to Jackie. None of his messages were returned. Jackie had officially dropped him as a client. Finally, confused, frustrated, and exhausted, Socrates prepared himself for the end. Surrounded by prison guards, he took the poison-filled chalice and raised it to his lips. And then one of the guards looked at Socrates and said, "So what happened to your publicist?" Socrates looked at the guard and replied, "Publicist? Don't get me started." The room fell silent for a moment. Then Socrates, with great profundity, whispered, "And where the hell is my agent?" And with that, Socrates, Papandropoulos, philosopher, handyman, and overexposed media icon, drank the hemlock and took his last breath. An epilogue. After his death, Socrates did indeed become quite famous. Of course, he was dead at that point, so it didn't really do much for him. On the other hand, it did wonders for his publicist, Jackie. She went on to work with Aristotle, Pericles, and an array of other celebrities before marrying a marble tycoon and settling down in the posh neighborhood just beyond the Acropolis. Screw Jackie. It's like I'm fading into the past with the black and white. I need somebody to help me with my color. So something tells me that Demetri Martin's first publicist was named Jackie. I could be wrong about that hypothesis. That was good though. Yeah, green screen fixing stream. I can't believe you guys stuck around for all of that. Color theory time? Do you guys want to help me with my filters now before I get off? Yeah, all of them are semi-anecdotal, I think, in some way, shape, or form, right? Sure? Okay. I don't know that I believe that water plant. Does it not have its own distinct wavelength? Is it not in the rainbow? And more importantly, how are you defining color? What is a color? You have to define that. And I define that as a wavelength. A very specific, how many waves per second. So let's change the... Yeah, I don't know. The only options I have are contrast, brightness, and gamma. I could take the gamma up. Whoops, that's the wrong button. What if I turn this off? That doesn't help. Is that better? I feel like that brought a ton of color back to me. That brought all the color back, right? And we can even take gamma up a little bit. Okay, better or worse? Yep, that fixed it. It was literally one button. Okay. Okay, so now we're learning. I feel like the edges around me are not as good anymore, but that's fine. Better. Cool. We've improved things. Still pretty gray. Still pretty gray. But in all fairness, I'm kind of gray myself. And I need better lighting from the front. That's part of the issue too. All I have is a lamp that I sit on the floor. Yeah, it's partially me, it's partially the lighting, and it's partially because I don't understand how to use technology. God gamer, bad streamer. That was a complicated fix, Orange. That was tough. I had to click 3 buttons to find it. Okay, Kate. They brought me on for my teaching abilities, not my technology abilities. 3 buttons. I had to right click, I had to click on filters, and I had to turn off one of my filters. I'm worn. I'm whipped, Orange. I don't know. I might fall asleep in the chair. I'm exhausted. I am all tuckered out. Alright, you guys. I'm gonna call it for the night there. In the cat chair. Is Link here? Yeah, she's there. A sleepover stream. That would be fun. Oh, you guys are the best. You truly are the best. I'm gonna go rest up from that. thank you guys for everything. I hate you all, and I'll see you all in 21 hours. I hope you have a wonderful night. Yeah, I'll miss you all for the next 21 hours. I hate you all. Have a good night. Thank you for coming out. Oh, definitely, Wolf. I'm gonna go check it right now. Good night, Phoenix. Love you, buddy. Sunset Heart Hands. Good night, Kate. Love you too. Ariana, does it bring everything back? That makes me so happy that you remember it. Good night, CJ. Thank you for hanging out. I love you too. Good night, guys.